Hi, I'm Henry, and here's how I made the world's first handheld photoacoustic musical laser. The design is based around this linear regulator circuit. As I increase the voltage to the non-inverting input, it allows more current to flow through the MOSFET and the laser diode. This is the circuit on a breadboard. Here I have two MOSFETs, but one of them was just turning it on and off, so I ended up combining their functionality. Originally, I was using a variable frequency oscillator to create the on-off cycle for the sound. Here I'm using a PWM generator. This is what the laser sounds like when you hook up the PWM output to the non-inverting input of the regulator. Since the regulator makes it easy to control a current with a voltage, all we have to do is get the audio waveform above 0 volts, plug it into the non-inverting input of the op-amp, and what we get out on the current waveform of the MOSFET looks exactly like the audio input. At this point I was ready to install the laser diode on the new heatsink, and I also had to drill holes into the laser diode to get the bolts to mount. Here's what the finished circuit diagram looks like. The device doesn't look very good on a breadboard, so I made this custom housing in Onshape, which uses way too many bolts. Here's what all the components look like once they're installed in the housing. This video showcases the brightness of the new laser. In my hand is a 5-watt laser that I built previously, and now I turn on the 40-watt. I wanted to see if the volume from the laser would change with the spot size, so I set up an experiment to change the spot size without changing the distance of the fans to the recording device. In this test, it looks like the second smallest spot is the sweet spot. If I increase or decrease the spot size beyond this, the sound decreases. It's worth noting that the photoacoustic effect is used to image things in medical settings. However, I will not be using this with my 40-watt laser. When looking for a material to convert this light energy into sound, I came across very exotic materials like vertically aligned carbon nanotube structures. As much as I would like to work with these materials, it's simply too difficult to manufacture them. Luckily, I can make something very similar with a candle. A candle constantly puts out these loosely bunched carbon nanostructures that have basically no heat capacity and respond extremely quickly to incoming energy, also known as candle soot. It works really well. The way this effect works is that the modulated light input gets converted into heat by the blackbody absorbing target. The temperature of this target follows the same waveform as the input, and as it expands and contracts due to the thermal expansion, it creates the same acoustic waveform as the input. Some of these articles say that they made a photoacoustic transducer by combining silicon with some sort of black medium to absorb the light. I figured this would work because the thermal expansion coefficient for silicon is very high, but most of these models just ended up being very quiet and burning actually when I pointed the laser at it. Some other articles used gold nanoparticles to create the sound, so I tried using gold foil, and I found out that my gold foil is not gold. I also saw some people using candle soot that had been placed on glass, so I tried doing this, but I didn't heat up the glass very well first, and yeah. The only thing that performed similarly to the tinfoil and candle soot transducer was a polyamide sheet that had candle soot applied to it in the same way, although it was a little bit quieter. Here are the results of the test. The next clip is me playing Minecraft music on the laser. Here's how well the laser burns when it's focused down. That's all I have for this video. Thanks for watching.